Hey, what's up? This is your girl, Taylor Wilde. Welcome back to Wilde On Season 5, the podcast where you get the insider's view of the weird, wild world of wrestling and witchcraft. On Wednesdays, today's guest is a Canadian sister. She started as a sports broadcaster for the Score television network, which conveniently led to an 8-year career as a commentator, interviewer, and presenter for WWE. She's the partner to Jon Moxley and the super mommy to sweet baby Nora. Ladies and gentlemen, AEW superstar, my friend, Renee Paquette. So where are you living now?
I live in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, so we were just in your hood. We were in Columbus.
That's right. Yeah. So we moved out here like a year and a half ago, and I love it.
Yeah?
It kind of reminds me a little bit more of home, like definitely more than Vegas did. Being in the desert was like so foreign to me. Being in Cincinnati and like where we are in the city is like, it's not Toronto. Toronto's Toronto, but it's just nice to kind of have that same kind of vibe. We've got some trees and grass and all the things that I desperately missed while living in the desert.
And what made you go out to Vegas? Like, that's such a jump.
Oh, it's such a jump. So when Jon and I first started dating, I was living in New York City at the time, and he was living, I should say Queens. I feel like people in New York City are nitpicky.
Right.
I was living in Queens. Living in Astoria, Queens, and Jon was living in Vegas. And once I got the blessing from Triple H that I no longer had to be in that like tri-state area to get to the studio for recordings and stuff. And he's like, all right, fine, you can move. It just made more sense for me to go where Jon was. Sure. I think it also just felt like, oh, cool, like West Coast, we're close to LA. That's nice. Totally. And it's just so cheap to live out there. So there was a lot of plus sides to it.
That's a big shock to the system. But I guess, like, you know, Toronto, you're from Ajax originally, right? Ajax, yeah. New York. Yeah. That's very same.
Durham region, baby.
Yeah. Represent. Half our listeners will be like, "Ooh, the girl's talking about."
Yeah, what?
So you already did the LA thing, though. Pre-working for the Score, you moved out to LA really young, and you did.
I did.
The modeling, acting. So I feel like that's such a ballsy thing to do. Like, we hear about it. It's like the thing to do. But you were so young. Like, Ajax isn't a super like, it is developed, don't get me wrong, but it's more like suburban. It's not like you're going on casting calls in your backyard. How did, like, where did that come from? Like, who was your supports? How did you stay grounded?
I think I was just really kind of like gutsy and ballsy at the time. And it's funny thinking about that now, and I feel like being a mom, you look at the younger version of yourself and you're like, wow, I went out and did that thing, and how did my mom let me do that? Like, I couldn't imagine letting my kid get on a plane and move to another country, like, so ill prepared.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I just really had stars in my eyes, and I was so ambitious to work. Like, all I've ever cared about really up until this point is just like working and hustling and trying to figure it out and following that dream. So yeah, I at like 19 packed up. And so specifically, like, remember packing my bag and getting ready to go. And it was all kind of like a last minute thing. I didn't really have that much of a plan. I had not even really worked very much prior to moving there. Like, I had maybe done like a couple music videos, maybe some commercials. Like, I didn't really have like a resume to speak for. So yeah, I just like very blindly moved to Los Angeles being like, well, if you want to be in this world, that's where you have to go to do it.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I just kind of like packed up and moved out there. But it was, you know, you quickly get met with the harsh realities of it's not just packing up and moving there, especially as a Canadian. I didn't have a work visa. I didn't have a green card. Like, I had nothing. I couldn't work. I luckily ended up getting a job under the table at a bar called The Mint that the Farrelly brothers owned at the time. Cool. I don't know if they still own it. Yeah. So they had come through. I used to work at the amphitheater in Toronto.
Yeah.
I used to work there as a waitress, and they would come through when we had like people filming in town and stuff. They had come through. So their assistant actually got me that job. He was like, just come work here. And it was like $50 a night, maybe. Like I had no money to my name.
Jeez.
So yeah, those realities just kind of hit you when you move to another country. Though it's like, hey, I don't have a resume.
Yep.
I couldn't get an agent. Nobody would take a meeting with me because they're like, you're here illegally. There's literally nothing I can do for you.
Wow.
I couldn't get health insurance. Like I just had nothing. So
how fucking scary. Yeah, you're like, well,
it's funny because it wasn't even so much in like defeat
yeah,
of not having done the thing. It wasn't like, oh my God, I couldn't do it. It was like, no, physically, there's just too many barriers to do it.
right.
Let's revise the plan here. So
Yeah.
it was going back home and being like, hey, well, how do I get back to doing those things? What's the plan going to be now?
Yeah.
And yeah, you just kind of you pivot. It was a little
you pivot.
To go.
It's all about the pivot.
and my biggest thing is like, and I always felt this really early on was like, I always was so worried about wasting time.
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like I have to go now. I've got to do this now. I was so antsy, like ready to hit the ground running. So yeah, I was constant. Anytime I felt like I was wasting time, felt like a big a big loss to me.
Yeah. That feels very aligned to the feeling I've had inside myself. And the only thing that's really stopped me in my tracks and made me like look at the bigger picture is having a child. Would you say the same?
Oh my God, absolutely. And you know, it's funny because I mean, I was 35 when I had Nora, so I was older, so to speak. That like,
girl, we're geriatric moms. Like I was 30.
Yeah, you hit that geriatric phase, and it's like, okay, let's get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
But I got to really live in that pocket for quite a while, focusing on working and traveling the world and going on meetings and doing all of those things that I felt like I needed to do at that time. Yeah. But now having a daughter and luckily being able to, you know, check off so many bucket list things that I've really wanted to do in my career. It's funny now being able to kind of sit back, and now I feel like I can sit. I don't want to say I'm sitting on my heels. I'm not sitting on my heels.
No.
But it's less of that. Like I've got to get up and go. I've got to get up and go. I think I have a little more that I can kind of sit back on and enjoy, I guess, the fruits of that labor.
Sure. And do you take her on the road with you guys all the time, or is it like kind of split?
No. So we take her on pay-per-view weeks.
Okay.
We have to leave, like, you know, this, we're coming up to Toronto for Forbidden Door. So we'll come in on that Friday, probably. So she'll come up for that. And then we'll, you know, we do the next TV in Hamilton. So anytime we're gone, that's going to be a chunk of time like that, she'll come. But when we're just in and out, it's too much. Not that, I mean, it is a lot on me. Truthfully,
oh, it is. It is.
For me to feel that moment, even though I'm going on the road to work and there's things to do, and you know, it's a demanding job. That is almost my break, where I'm like, okay, good. I go into the world. I get to go be a person. I'm not just in mom mode. When I'm home, I'm just in mom mode. I'm like in my sweats. I've got a hat on. Like I'm not remotely glamorous. So it's kind of nice to like put on an outfit, go through hair and makeup, go do the TV job, and then kind of get back to, all right, we're going to the park, and do we have snacks? What do we need? What's happening? What phase are we in right now? So no, it's nice for me to have that moment of like, go on the road. She stays home. Either, you know, Jon's whole family's in Cincinnati, so
beautiful.
She's with his mom, or we have a nanny who's just like a, you know, close personal family friend of ours. She watches Nora a lot of the time too. So we've got lots of helping hands that make it feel a lot easier when we leave. It's not this like panic of, oh my God, we're leaving, and who's the baby with, and is she okay? She's fine. She could give a shit at this point. She's like, bye-bye. See ya.
But that's where you want, like, as much as that like pulls on your heartstrings, that's where you want your children to be, like confident, self-assured. Bye.
Totally. It's funny. She's really been going through in the last, I guess, like month and a half. She's had this like 2-year sleep regression thing where she will not go to bed for me. Jon can get her to bed. If I'm in the house, Jon can get her to bed, and then maybe like an hour or two later, she'll wake up and she's like, I know mom's here. And she will not, she's like relentless. So she sleeps in bed with us a lot of the time, which I know I have just like shot myself in the foot with the way that I've mismanaged this. But anytime we're gone, when John's mom's watching her, when our nanny's watching her,
Yeah.
she goes to sleep at 7:30 p.m. Nobody hears a peep from her for 12 hours. She is this little angel in her bed. I woke up this morning, so we just flew back in. We had TV in Washington. I'm like, and our baby monitor's on my phone, so I
Yeah.
can always see. I get an update. There's a sound, there's a movement, whatever.
Yeah.
Nothing. Thing all night. I'm like, this little shit kept me up all night the night before, just rattling and rolling around,
Oh,
asking
yeah.
for milk, kicking me, headbutting John, like for nobody else. She just does it to me.
That's why they make them cute, so we don't kill them.
Oh, it's funny. John said that. He goes, as much as this, because Tuesday night before we flew out, she was just a little hellcat.
Oh,
And not being
no.
bad. She wasn't being bad. She was just wired. She's
Yeah.
like bouncing off the walls. She wants to play. She wants
Yeah.
to check everything out. And John's like, thank God she's cute. Because
Oh.
the thing she's funny. Like the thing she does is funny. So even
Yeah.
when I get like, I feel like I'm on my last nerve. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do right now. I'm like, but look how sweet she is. God, she's cute.
It's this like really ironic game that the universe plays on
It
us.
is. It is. And it's funny. My mom was just in town because it was Nora's birthday. My mom came down, and with this not sleeping thing, she's very clingy to me. Like she
Okay.
lives like up my ass and around the corner.
Of course.
And yeah, my mom's like, this is payback, because I was apparently like that for her. She goes, I couldn't do any house cleaning. I couldn't do anything without you strapped to my body. So she's like, this is payback's a bitch.
That's what I've got in my son too. He's like bouncing off the
Yeah.
walls. He like can't concentrate. He's having 17 conversations at one time. And I'm just like, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry, Mom.
Oh, I know.
I
It really
get
gets,
it.
it's funny that like perspective switch that you have. Like
Yeah.
when you're like, oh, I'm the kid, this is my mom, this is the dynamic of our relationship. And then when that changes,
Yeah.
and then they're the grandparent, you're the parent, you've got a kid, and you look at all the hell that you put them through. And they were,
Oh my
I think they were all a lot less vocal about it than we all are now. But like,
Yes.
yeah, you have a different appreciation for what they went through.
Oh, for sure. And I
Yeah.
think like like not the most beautiful, but one of the most beautiful things about having your own children is, you're really cognizant of not putting your own shit onto them, but how
Sure.
you really are able to reparent yourself by
Yeah.
parenting them. Like you heal the things that maybe you
Yes.
didn't get. Or, I had good parents. They tried their best. But being a kid growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, parenting was just different. Both
Yeah.
parents worked. Usually you had a grandparent that looked after you, a lot of TV, a lot of Pop-Tarts. Like, you know what I mean?
Like it's cool because you kind of get to see the world through a child's eyes again, and you get
Yeah.
that new perspective. Like, oh my God, everything in the world is new to you. You don't know anything. You're
Totally.
you're absorbing everything at this like incredible rate.
Yeah.
It's funny like seeing the world through their eyes again, but then also seeing the world through your parents' eyes.
Yes.
And I feel like it definitely softened my approach or softened my memories even on like anything that could have been felt like or seen as like, oh, that wasn't great, or this was whatever. It's like, we're all just fucking figuring it out. Who cares?
Oh,
It's fine.
100%. And that's why I always think like, you can do the best. You can feed your kid all the organic food. You can have minimal screen time or no screen time, or, have a free range, non-GMO farm in your background and they only touch that grass. You're still going to probably fuck them up. So
Totally.
just do
Let
your
her
best.
fucking rip, man. Let her fucking rip.
Just love
I
them.
saw it. There's like that meme that's like, I breastfed my kid and he just got
Oh.
a face tattoo. It doesn't matter. Give him formula. None of it matters.
And I don't know where you had your baby. I'm assuming it's in the States, but
In Vegas, yeah.
it was in Vegas. Okay. And I really wanted to breastfeed. I really wanted to have a natural birth. But the more you focus on it, the more universe goes, cute. You're not getting that.
Like so many of my friends are pregnant or had kids around the same time, and you have those conversations. And yeah, for me, what's your birth plan? I was like, I don't even know what a birth plan is. I don't even have one, because I was like, I'm not married to anything. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I trust that I'm in good hands, which can be a slippery slope, trusting doctors and whatnot. Luckily, I had a really good doctor, so I was fine.
Good.
But yeah, it's all going to go. You can't trying to like micromanage that while being pregnant, while going through all these things and having a baby. It's like, it's all so much anyways, just going with the flow and letting that barrier down a little bit. makes life a lot.
Yes.
Like I only breastfed Nora for 2 months, and
Wonderful.
she stopped breastfeeding. We got in this like really great groove when people kind of warn you that like breastfeeding is like makes you like you see like lightning bolts in your eyes sometimes because it can be so painful.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
very painful for me at the beginning. And then I
Okay.
got mastitis on top of that.
Oh
Anyways,
God.
once we got in like a really great groove where I was like, I know what I'm doing. We've got this great laugh. She's eating a ton. She was like, I'm done with you. And she just would not breastfeed. I'm like, what? We just
Wow.
knocked it out. And she just like refused it. So, and like, I didn't beat myself up over it. I fought her for a little bit because I was like, all right, if I can keep her going, I will. But
Yeah,
if
sure.
she take a bottle, she's gonna take. I pumped for a bit, but like I can pump, I can put her on formula. I just wasn't overthinking it. I'm like, so long as she's healthy and she's happy and she's eating and she's cool, like that was really all that I was worried about.
Yeah. Fed is best, period. Like
Yes,
it doesn't matter.
nobody wants a hungry kid. Nobody likes me when I'm hungry. So you're not gonna like my
Same.
kid when she's hungry.
I don't like me when I'm hungry. Yeah, exactly.
No.
But I
Mm-mm.
think we're in this really beautiful place in the world, but specifically I want to talk about professional wrestling, where people like yourself and Becky Lynch and lots of people at Impact, we're having babies and our career doesn't stop, especially as women,
Yeah.
because 30 used to be leave her out to greener pastures, her
Yeah.
life is over. And
Yeah.
I think if anything, women are really hitting their stride in their 30s, and
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, did you ever think to yourself, if I have this baby, this might be the end of my career? Or are you just like, nope, this is a part of my journey. This is part of my life.
Yeah, I didn't feel that because, like I said, it's like I had Nora at 35. So I felt like my career, the tracks were already kind of in place. I had done
Right.
enough. Been successful enough to be able to know that I could sit on the work that I had done already. But
Hmm.
it was at a really interesting time that I left WWE. I got pregnant that next month. And then when we were like smack dab in the middle of COVID. So I left WWE without having my hand on another branch. I wasn't really sure what I was going to do in that time. And we're
Okay.
in COVID, so nobody's hiring, no one's
Right.
doing anything. People are being furloughed and fired left, right, and center. So I was like, okay, I'm going to sit in this for a minute. And that was
Yep.
uncomfortable for me.
Sure.
But being able to, the whole world was uncomfortable. So it wasn't just me. None of us knew what the fuck was happening.
Of
So for
course.
me to be able to just kind of like sit in that and be pregnant, I started doing my podcast. I was doing some stuff from home, and I was really lucky with that I could start doing that podcast. I started working with the Volume Podcast Network at the time with Colin Cowherd. So like I was in a good spot being able to do that. But yeah, it's still, even knowing that I was like, it's gonna be fine and it's shit's gonna fall into place, whatever it's gonna be.
Yeah.
It still is like it is an odd feeling of just like how do I get back on that train when your
Yeah.
whole life has shifted, like all of your perspectives and your goals, all that stuff all kind of shifts all at the same time. So my maternity leave was taking 6 weeks off, and
American
that
maternity
was
leave.
nothing. And everyone said to me, they're like, you're gonna need more than that, take more than that. Like,
Yes.
I'm a hustler, I'll be fine.
Girl, your vagina is not right in 6 weeks, so you are not
Oh
right in
my
6 weeks.
God, no. And like I think that that's sort of like a side effect of
Yeah.
a lot of women that are used to just be like, we hustle, we do a million things, we're
Yep.
multitasking, we're juggling a bunch, that you have a baby and you're like, oh, it's fine, I'm gonna have a baby and I'm gonna figure that out in a second.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna get
Yeah.
back to work and I'm gonna have all these things going on. But then that harsh reality really sets in that you're like, oh, no, I do want to have this time. I wish that I
Yeah.
gave myself more time. I wish that I had listened to everybody that told me that 6 weeks was not long enough
Yeah.
to just like enjoy that and adjust. It's
Sure.
obviously a big adjustment. But yeah, I just felt like I spread myself really thin right out the gate, where you're like already
Yeah.
lacking on sleep, you're figuring stuff out. And I'm like, I have to book guests and do prep for a
Oh,
thing, and people need me for these things. I was like, oh my God, I just want to put everything on do not disturb. Everybody leave a minute.
yes.
Yeah.
I oof. How did you survive that? Because I'm just thinking where I was hormonally. I was not in a good place
So
at
I
six
was
weeks.
I was really lucky. I did not get postpartum.
Oh, amazing.
Thank God, because I mean, I think it's, you hear all these stories, and I love that we are all very vocal about what that experience is like, because it's really a lot for like your body goes through a lot, your hormones go through a lot, your whole life has been turned upside down. So
Yep,
to just like
incredibly.
adjust to what that is. And yeah, so I did the placenta pills, and
Okay.
apparently that helps to ward off postpartum. Whether it was a placebo or not, I have no idea. But I was like, oh, whatever. If it's gonna help, I'll do it. So I was
Totally.
at least lucky that emotionally I didn't go through that. So it took me a minute. Like I think I was just a little bit frazzled for a while trying to juggle it all. And I definitely fall under the category of being a bit of like a yes person. I like saying yes to things. I like being that
Mm,
person to get things done. So I think
right.
that was a bit of a learning curve for me to like know, like pick and choose the things that you are going to agree to do.
Hmm.
But yeah, it really was a weird time. It's hard to adjust to. And then, at 5 months old for Nora, we packed up and we moved to Cincinnati. So we moved across the
Oh my
country. Jon
God.
went through his whole thing. So it was like we
Jeez.
were definitely in the weeds for a minute, but yeah, life throws shit at you and you just got to
Oh,
kind of like roll with the punches. You don't I wasn't fighting the punches. I was kind of just like letting them slide off my body as much as I could.
good for you. Good for you. That's amazing. Like, that's a lot to take
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
COVID, no job, no real prospects. You're starting this podcast, move across the country. You're still getting your bits back to where they used to be, figuring out this new role as mom.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the limelight, when you're a person in media, like, being a mom is wonderful. You want to do
Yeah.
it, but there is a bit of a switch that goes on in your brain. And like the whole like MILF thing, like I fucking hate that word because Stifler's mom, where this whole thing started, she was like in her like 50s. And
Yes,
like,
I
I
know. Like,
don't feel
I
that
don't know.
way.
Maybe I'll get there, but like,
Yeah,
give me a
like give me
minute.
a minute.
Yeah, give me a minute. Jeez.
Like, geez, stop pushing.
Yeah.
But speaking of like masculine, feminine, I think like there's always not enough attention and like kudos that needs to be put on the fact that you were working at the Score. I had an interview a million years ago at TSN after I was in developmental, which was in like 2008. And even in the time that you were at the Score, like that is a very male driven business and like you really have to know your shit in sports. What was that like onboarding process to work there, and like what was like the hiring process like, and did you feel like you were one of the guys, or did you very much kind of stay in your lane? Like I have so many questions about that
So
world.
I think I've always, and I don't even want to, it's not like a coping mechanism, but I've always been kind of like one of the guys. I've never
Sure.
really felt different than, I've certainly never felt lesser than.
Great.
But I will also give kudos to a lot of the great men that I've worked with. There's a lot of shitheads in this world. There's a lot of really
Yes.
good dudes too. And
Yeah.
I was really lucky to have that, especially early on in my career. And that's why I'm really happy that the Score is where I first really cut my teeth, especially on like a national broadcast. I was 23 when I got hired there. And my boss at the time, Greg Sansoni, is still there at Sportsnet. He was just great. Like he really let me be me. And they did that for
Cool.
all of their broadcasters. You look at the names that came out of there from me to Jackie Redmond to Mauro Ranallo to Arda Ocal, who's now at ESPN. That place
Right.
really nurtured their talent to just like create the content that they wanted to create. They let them be people like no, TSN is obviously great, but that was not. I didn't want to do Sports Center. I didn't want to be behind the desk broadcasting in that way. And what Jay Onright has been able to do at TSN is amazing. He has
Yeah.
completely broken that mold, and he's just great. But it wasn't always like that. So, anyways, but no, that's why at the Score I was like, that's where I would like to go because I knew that I could do like more like comedic style interviews, which is
Mm.
really what I wanted to do to begin with, was more in like the comedy realm. But I grew up playing
Okay.
sports, so I was like, I think I could meld these two things together. Why not? So, anyways, to your question of like what was like that process like, so for me, it was a lot of like quite literal hitting the pavement, knocking on doors. Like I had my printed off head sheet or my headshot, my resume, my demo reel burnt onto a DVD, and I was
Wow.
going down to the television studio, banging on the door that I thought was where their entrance was. I was actually just like at the studio door, like a
Oh,
and I just kept bugging them. Like I was really, really persistent that I was like, hire me, hire me. What can I do? What do you need? How do I get in there? How do I get my foot in the door? So it was like a lot of follow-ups, a lot of emails. Like I think I just like probably annoyed them that they're like, oh my God, fuck, fine.
annoying is the way to go.
Sometimes
That's what I always
it
tell people.
is.
You can't,
Sometimes it is.
yeah.
Like it's really helped me a ton. And like yeah, sometimes you just got to get your face out there and do that heavy lifting. I think we all get a little bit prideful
Totally.
now. I don't know if people do that so much anymore. I think everyone's a little bit too prideful to go out and do stuff like that. We're all a little too
I think
cool.
so.
I was not. I was definitely not. So yeah, I was very persistent.
Same.
They brought me in. And they were just about to do a reality show called Gillette Drafted, the search for Canada's next sportscaster. So then I did an
Okay.
audition tape for that, being like, maybe they'll bring me in through that. And then
Ah,
they ended up hiring me before that.
okay.
So I feel like I started there and everyone was like really supportive, really great. They got me into the wrestling world. Greg Sansoni, who I had mentioned, I mean, he came up to me. I'd worked there, I don't know, a year maybe. He was like, "Hey, we're gonna be." They
Okay.
had the broadcast rights to WWE, so they're like, "Hey, if you want to host this after show for Monday Night Raw?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And I was like, quickly, like re-submerging myself back in the world of pro wrestling. Yeah, and of course,
Right.
one thing led to another, led to me being at WWE, and even there being in such a like male-driven testosterone kind of world, I was really lucky to
Totally.
be working under somebody like a Michael Cole who was like just the best to work for, so talented, and like he always pushed for me and fought for me and wanted me to be
Oh,
doing more and working more. So it's really nice when you know that other people that you respect see the value in what you're bringing to the table. I think there's nothing better. There's
totally.
not a better confidence booster than that.
Oh yeah, it's game changing, and you
Yeah.
need those people
Yeah.
because you have to have a little bit of delusional confidence
You
to
have
be
to.
in our
You have to.
world.
You have to.
But
Yeah.
when you have those people that like kind of give you that affirmation, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, fucking right. Like, because you
Yeah.
have to have that ego. You have to have
You
that
gotta you've got to
testosterone
kind
and
of buy
push.
into your own hype at least to a degree
Totally.
to be able to pull it off. You can't, yeah, walking on set being like, "Oh, I shouldn't be doing this. It's not me."
Yeah.
That doesn't work. You got to just go in and fucking do it.
Totally. Don't look at me.
Yeah. But yeah, I know it's funny because you hear so many like stories of like women working in like a male dominated workplace and having a bad experience. And it's not to say
Yeah.
I've not seen stuff and I've not also fallen victim to some of those things. Of course I have.
Of
Luckily,
course.
anytime something like that has happened has been in a pretty small window in a place that I either
Yeah.
didn't end up working
Okay.
or, it just there's stuff that kind of happens in passing and that's going to kind of
Yeah.
happen anywhere. But
Yeah.
I definitely think I kind of hope that I give off the vibe of like, don't fucking bother. Just don't fucking
Absolutely you
bother.
do. Absolutely you do. And that's what makes you like basically ready for that world, or you have that thick skin. Like my life has been men. Like I
Yeah.
grew up in wrestling, then I've been a firefighter for 9 years, now I'm back in wrestling, and that's exactly my vibe is like, just no dude,
I'll serve it
just
back to you 10 times
yes.
harder than you were going to bring it my way. So fucking test me. Let's go. I got
So
a
that's
sharp
my
tongue and a strong
yeah.
backbone.
I love that. So that's my next question then, because I feel very like you and I are very similar personalities, and you've got to be in your masculine. You are equal parts feminine, but you've been working around egotistical, very masculine men for, let's call it, 10 years. And then you meet a Mr. Jon Moxley and he fucking knocks your socks off. What was the difference? What? Because you've probably been going, nah, nah, nah for years. What changed?
Well, I feel like I mean, I always had been like somewhat of like a serial monogamous. Like I had
Okay.
boyfriends
Oh,
before,
interesting.
and like, I again, like, not to make it seem like, oh, I've always had these great experiences, but like I was really lucky. I don't have any ex-boyfriends I would like talk shit on. They were all good
Yeah.
guys. They all brought something different to the table. But unfortunately for them, when I was dating them, it was never, I mean, it wasn't the thing. John, of course,
Okay.
is the thing. And we
Yeah.
met at a time in both of our lives that, we were both 28 when we first started dating. We were both at good points in our careers. And I
Hmm.
don't know that it wasn't, I can't say there was like that everything went slow motion and like, endless love started playing or something in the background.
Yeah.
But I don't know, there was just like this connection with him that he's like my buddy and we're still like that. Like I love spending time with him. I love watching the way that he moves and operates, and not to say it doesn't drive me fucking crazy sometimes, but
100, the line between fine line, love and hate.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
different day.
But yeah, I think we just met at a really good time in our lives that it
Yeah.
worked. And now it's funny, like sometimes like we'll just be, God, isn't it funny that we like I had like another boyfriend that wasn't you before? Like it's so funny to think of our lives before we knew each other and like
Sure.
what were we doing? What was I
Yeah.
doing? It's funny.
You had to get through all the other ones, be it
Yeah.
good, bad, or
You
ugly,
gotta
to
have those
really.
experiences and you've gotta like try some
Yeah.
different things on for size. But yeah, it's funny. I just feel like as soon as we were together, we were just together. And that was
I
just
love
that.
it.
Like there was never, there's no like real like song or dance. I mean, there was plenty of those things, but there was
Yeah.
like, are we doing this? Aren't we doing this? What's happening? Are you,
Hmm.
you off the on or off the pot? We were just like on and we
Right.
stayed on. It was cozy and we built a nice little life around that pot.
I love that. And, I hate to say it, but I think, especially in our world of like quick everything, instant gratification, dating apps, there still is that old fashioned romantic sentiment that when it's right, and
Yeah.
it's easy.
Yeah,
It's not hard work.
totally. And there's something, yeah, there's definitely something to be said for like, of course, in every relationship, like I said, God, we've been together for 10 years. So it's not that there's not ups and downs, like the hardships I just rattled off of having a
Yeah.
baby and moving and X, Y, and Z and changing, not changing careers, but, your
Yeah.
work life changes a little bit. Like there's so many different things that can be at those highs and those lows. But end of the day, it's like, I like him,
Yeah.
like I
Yeah. No.
like him.
He's your best friend,
Yeah,
and I think that's the difference. Like, of course, we need the sexual chemistry, we need the physical
sure.
attraction.
Yeah,
We're animals, but
sure.
you want to be with your best friend,
I
and
know, and
like I
it
think
helps that
that
he's
gets
a
lost.
babe. That's
Well,
great.
yes, let's be real here. Like, we love this.
It's so funny the other day in makeup. I don't know how this came up. One of the girls
Mm.
was talking about Twilight, and she was like, I never really understood the Robert Pattinson thing. I was like, oh my God, I was all about Team Edward. I love him. I go, I just love a like brooding guy. They're like, yeah, no fucking shit.
Yeah. You are that TikTok. Show us your childhood crush. Show us the man you married, Renee Paquette.
Yes. Oh my God. So funny.
Oh, okay. Well, you have been a gracious guest, and I know you've got a million things to do. I just want to wrap this up with
Yeah.
my top 10 tailor made questions, not a speed round. Okay. What would be your entrance song to life? Like, if you could leave your door every day, what song would get you going?
Probably Don't Stop Me Now by Queen.
Oh, good
Yeah.
one. Would there be dance
Yeah.
moves? Would there be like,
Yeah. I'm having such a
love that.
good time, having fun. Yeah, that would be
Uh, uh, cool.
it.
So, to contradict that, have you thought about what your funeral song would be?
Ooh, gosh, that's a good question. Maybe Hell's Bells?
Oh, we love this. A good build up.
Yeah, maybe Hell's
Yeah,
Bells. Heck,
I like that.
yeah, that would be,
Yeah.
I think that,
Yeah. Because there'd be so many emotions. Like, it takes you on a real journey.
yeah, that, I mean, I do, yeah. Shit, I don't know. That was
Yeah.
the one right off the top of my head. Of course, if I did like some real
Sure.
thoughtfulness into it.
No, I
Because,
want off
but
the
you want
top.
to
I want off the
entertain the
cuff.
masses. It's not just about me. You want people there to enjoy themselves, and I think Hell's Bells would be a nice
Totally.
send off. A little salute.
Excellent
Yeah,
choice. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have like a secret supernatural power? Like for me, I think I'm a pretty good read of character. Within a few minutes, I'm like, or we're going to be friends.
Yeah, I think I probably am in that same boat as you. I definitely feel like
Okay.
it's like I don't know if it's like an energy thing, a vibe thing. And I usually go into things. I'm not always like skeptical of people. Just like I'm not gonna like this person. Like I'm not one of those people that's like
Yes.
I hate everybody. I don't. I actually like most people. Um, but
Yes.
yeah, I feel like I can sniff the dickheads out really quick.
The bullshit.
Definitely that.
Yeah.
Another supernatural power. I probably don't have it anymore. But I used to be
Okay.
really good at high jump. and race in like
Oh.
running. I used to be a really fast runner. I used to run track. So I did
Oh.
like the 100 meter. I was the anchor in relay, did 200
Okay.
meter, and then yeah, I would do high jump. So I was pretty high jumper.
I love that. So at any point you
White
could
girl
be
can
like,
jump.
"Do you want to race?" Right?
Yeah,
Fuck.
yeah. She
Changing the
used to be able to
stereotypes.
anyways. I don't know if I still can, but I used to
Okay.
be able to.
I feel like within our age group, that's when you bust out those like, so you want to
Oh my
race?
God, yeah, let's have a foot race. Oh my God, I remember I did that one time. I was like, I can still do a backhand spring. I'll do a round off backhand spring.
Oh,
I almost tore my abdomen right off my fucking pelvis.
I was gonna say we would have a race and someone would blow a
Yeah.
hammy and it wouldn't be worth it. I mean, we're athletes, or we were once
Oh
upon a
my
time.
God, yes.
Okay, do you believe in ghosts? And if you do you have a ghost story?
I do believe in ghosts, very much so. I actually have
Yay.
a few ghost stories, but I'll pick the most recent one.
Okay, love
So
this.
the house that we moved into in Cincinnati, which has like Cincinnati has its own history. It's a very like old
Yeah.
European feeling town. A lot of old houses. Our house was
Mm.
built in 1885, really,
Oh,
but it
wow.
doesn't feel creepy or like a scary old house. So it's not like a
Okay.
creaky house. I don't hear stuff. But anyways, I was
Okay.
in my daughter's room. This was only maybe well, a couple months ago. I'm in her room. She's playing. She's doing her thing, getting ready for bed, and she stops dead in her tracks and looks down the hallway and just bolts to me and was like freaked out. And
Ooh.
I was like, "Oh, what just happened?" She saw something 100%. And then she also kept talking about Abby. So part of me was like, is she talking about Abby Kadabi from Sesame Street?
That's where I went
Yeah,
immediately.
so that's what I had always thought that it was. But our house, because it's like an old historical home, a lot of the rooms have
Uh-huh.
little placards on the doors that say it's this door, this person's room, and our bedroom is called the Abigail Night Room. And I was like, bitch named Abby
Oh,
talking to
dear.
our baby?
Shit.
Yeah, shouldn't call her a bitch. I'm sure you're great. I'm sure you're great. You've been
No,
a
no.
treat to us.
Yes. No, we refer to ourselves, other women. If
It
we
was
were,
a
it's okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was
General
yeah. It
PG.
was not in a rude.
Abby, you're not a
No,
bitch.
no,
We
not a
love
bitch.
you.
I
It's
mean, like
fine.
you're like down. You're like cool.
Yeah, yeah.
You like me.
You're like a down
Yeah,
spirit. We're
yeah. We're
good.
good.
Like a home girl,
Yes,
home girl.
my
Yeah.
girl.
Okay, so usually I want to talk about your most embarrassing moment in the ring, nip slip, incontinence, a little menstrual blood. It's all happened to
Yes.
everybody. What has been your most embarrassing on camera, like wardrobe malfunction, bodily function, and or have you been like just lucky, blessed that you haven't had an issue?
Well, I remember one time I was, and this wasn't really like, so it was just a little miscommunication, I guess. I was hosting a
Yeah.
panel for a pay-per-view, and I guess the dress I was wearing was maybe a little too risque. So I threw to a video package and I came back and was wearing a man's blazer for the rest of the show. Yeah, sorry guys.
Oopies.
I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm just trying to keep the party alive. Shit.
Also, that's very Miley
Yeah,
Cyrus of you.
yeah,
Just be like, we're
exactly.
just wearing the
It was
blazer.
chic.
I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Probably just rudeness. I feel like just
Yeah,
people being
that's good.
rude, like unnecessarily rude. I think that kind of creeps up more traveling as often as I do. You see some shit that you're
Yeah,
like, come on, man. Come on,
yeah,
relax.
yeah.
Not to say I don't have those moments sometimes too, but
Of
yeah, probably
course.
that. Yeah, that and like the crowding around the carousel drives me bonkers.
Oh,
That drives me crazy.
I'm with you
Yeah.
on
Or and
that.
also
It's the whole
listen,
sentiment.
don't put your backpack up in the overhead. Put it under the chair. We got to keep room for the bags. This stuff has been
Be
wearing me down the last couple days.
yeah. You know what I go through the airport just looking at people when they do dumb shit like that, and I'm like, you are not the main
You are not
character.
the main
I don't know who
character.
I don't know who told
Mm-mm.
you, but
No,
no.
no, yeah, that stuff.
It's
Just like no
it's the little
common sense. It's
things.
about common sense, really. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's
Etiquette. Be polite.
right.
Think of the people around you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a toughie, but it can also be like, what are you
Okay.
listening to now? But favorite band or artist?
So favorite band or artist, I'd probably say Jenny Lewis as far as like one of like my favorites. I love Jenny Lewis. I love her and Rilo Kiley. Big fan. But I've really been lately listening to a lot of Patty Griffin.
Patty Griffin.
She is like a country like singer-songwriter. Like I feel like most like country stars you listen to probably love her. She's just cool as all hell. She's awesome. She's really
I'm gonna look into this.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's got some really great songs. So I've been listening to that quite a bit. Before that, I was like deep into like still playing the SZA album a ton, really playing the new Miley Cyrus album a ton. So I've been like deep in those, and now I've gone back the other way. I'm like, give me some Patty in my life.
Yeah, I love that. Name a movie that changed your life.
Gosh, that's a good question. Several ones kind of like come to mind, but they're like ones when I was a kid. Like I grew up, I loved Labyrinth. I loved Willy Wonka. Like those were movies that I really, really loved. But I think like more as like an adult, like Now and Then, I fucking loved.
Yes,
Now and Then was really great. Probably Steel Magnolias. I'm gonna go Steel Magnolias. I love that movie. Like it's so funny. Actually, I watched that movie and John had not seen it. We watched it when I came home from the hospital with Nora, and we're just like holed up in bed, got a new baby. But I had a C-section in the scene when Sally Field gets slapped. Or no, she slapped someone. And anyways, this is a scene at the cemetery, and there's a whole ordeal. Anyways, I laughed so hard I thought I was going to bust a stitch out. So that movie will always be good for me. I love, love, love that movie.
Oh, that was a good one.
It is
classic. Who's been the most embarrassing crush of all time? Edward Cullen's probably up there, but it's not really that embarrassing.
He's cute.
He was cute.
It was more cute. Robert Pattinson than Edward, but...
See, I'm the opposite. I think I had more of a crush on Edward, less on Robert Pattinson, because then I thought in life he was kind of a wiener.
Yeah, you're not... Yeah...
Could be wrong. Like, it was just me. That was just how I felt.
And this was a long time ago, I think, before we knew that he was maybe not the coolest.
That's true, actually. That is true. So during that time, I'd say yes, the actor.
Embarrassing crush. Oh,
dropping
Joey Lawrence. I love Joey for a bit. Whoa,
perfect.
Love Joey Lawrence.
Whoa, he was a babe.
He was a babe.
Oh my god.
I remember like having his like CD. He had like the flannel tied around his waist. Like I just thought he was it.
Also, I'm pretty sure I dressed like every man I had a crush on in the 90s. Like, I think I really
this won't get him. He'll love it. With mirror souls.
Totally.
I love it.
Well, where can all our listeners find you? Your social media?
Yeah, you guys can catch all my social media. My Instagram, my Twitter are both at Renee Paquette. I am not on TikTok because I'm 1,000 years old. And you can catch me on Dynamite.
Perfect.
Wednesdays and Fridays, TBS and TNT, all that good stuff. And in Canada, TSM, we've been able to hang out and do some little plugs with Jay Onright, which has been great to help plug us coming up to Canada for AEW.
Yay. Okay, last one. Finish this lyric. Don't stop me now.
I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now. You want to have a good time. Just give me a call.
Yes. Well done. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Hopefully I get to see you in person soon.
All right. We are having a week. We are having a day. I am sleep deprived. I'm losing my mind. I had to record the intro about 500 times because I can't say Renee Paquette, Bassinet. Sorry, Rochelle. I did my best. I literally have a disability when it comes to people's last name. I listen to the pronunciation on YouTube. I practice it. I close the app. I record it. And I just sound like a dick. So I'm really sorry. I'll apologize to her face. It is what it is. I'm doing my best. And then when I was recording this outro, I've received 4 or 5 phone calls. So we're just going to end on a high note. I love my Wilde on. badass punk rock girl band team. Rochelle, Douris, my editor and producer, I love you. Thank you for putting up with me. Madison Golshani, our marketing specialist. All my wild ones, just know this is the realness. This is the messiness. This is us getting through the weeks as a traveling single mom, professional wrestler, shift working firefighter. I am just keeping it together some weeks. But thank you for tuning in weekly. Please don't hesitate to send me a DM. Let me know, are you enjoying what we're serving? And if not, I want to hear about it too. I want to hear all the things. All right, until next week, keep calm and wild on. Blessed be.